Tonight, NDC minority to boycott government business in Parliament whenever newly sworn-in MP for Asin North, Gyakye Quason, attends court for his criminal trial.
Mr. Speaker, I wish to serve notice that the entire minority group will accompany our colleague to court today and any other day that he is to appear in court. We are solidarizing with our colleague and we will not participate in the business of the House anytime our colleague is in court.
We have the latest from Parliament. On the day Mr. Quason was sworn in as MP, we also tell you why the High Court today, hearing his criminal case, was forced to adjourn. And Top Story is always brought to you by Vodafone. My name is Mensah. It is now official. NDC MPs will be boycotting government business for the rest of the time their colleague Gyakye Quason, MP for Asin North, remains on trial. Mr. Quason was finally sworn in today, exactly a week after his overwhelming victory in the Asin North by-election. But he faces the real possibility of jail time if he's convicted of several criminal offences, including perjury. More on this shortly. But first, though, here is Speaker of Parliament Alban Bagbin swearing in the latest addition to Parliament, Mr. Quason himself, on the day former President John Mahama led a high-powered NDC delegation to witness the ceremony.
Take the oath of a member of Parliament.
I, James Gyakye Quason,
having been elected a member of Parliament, do in the name of the Almighty God swear that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Republic of Ghana as by law established, that I will uphold, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the Republic of Ghana, and that I will faithfully and conscientiously discharge the duties of a member of Parliament. So help me God. Honorable members, congratulations.
Well, while this was going on, Gyakye Quason was actually expected in court for his criminal trial. We'll tell you what happened in court today, because he could not be in two places at the same time. This was an issue actually on the floor of Parliament today. The minority leader, Dr. Kaysila Tafosing, served a notice formally on the floor that henceforth they will be boycotting government business so long as their colleague remains on trial.
Right, Honorable Speaker, I must commend our colleague, Mr. Quason, for his courage and resilient spirit. He has prevailed in the face of persecution. I am aware that today he is due to appear in court, the Speaker, to defend the trump-up charges against him. My message to him is to take solace in the good book, in Deuteronomy 31:6, which says, the Speaker, do not be afraid or terrified because of them. The Lord your God goes with you. He will never leave you nor forsake you. The Speaker, I wish to serve notice that the entire minority group will accompany our colleague to court today and any other day that he is to appear in court. Mr. Speaker, we are solidarizing with our colleague and we will not participate in the business of the House anytime our colleague is in court, and we will be withdrawing from the chamber after this ceremony if the court processes indeed happens today. So, Speaker, amid persecution, cooperation will certainly suffer. So, Speaker, a word to a wise is in Asin North. A word to a wise is in Asin North. So, Speaker, let me use this opportunity to thank you once again for the opportunity. But let me also note that it is only until you swore him in that our colleague, Honorable James Gyakye Quason, swore the oath of allegiance, and not when he filed his nomination at the Electoral Commission. That should be noted by all stakeholders of state. Speaker, I urge the government to listen to the good people of Asin North and do the right thing. I urge you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
And I want to bring in my parliamentary correspondent who covered a press conference shortly after what you just had there on the floor, the minority address, a news conference. Kweku, so did they give us a bit more context and explanation to this decision?
Yes, Evans, indeed, they are expanding the demand. They are now not limiting their non-appearance on the floor to only Gyakye Quason. According to that press briefing delivered by the Deputy Minority Leader, this will include the trial of Dr. Kisalato Force, who was the minority leader, and also the trial of one of their senior and leading members, Honorable Collins Dauda. Whenever these three persons are supposed to be in court, they are serving notice that they will not show up on the floor.
The clear and obvious prosecution of Honorable James Gyakye Quason in a criminal trial over a matter that has been settled by the electorate of Asin North through his overwhelming victory. As you know, he was supposed to even go to court today. Yeah. And again exposes the determination of the Attorney General to aid this government's pursuit of its ungodly agenda to weaken and break the resilience of the NDC minority in Parliament. A recent escalation of a similar unwarranted court cases has seen the Akufo-Addo government renew its harassment of our Member of Parliament of Asutifi, the Honorable Collins Dauda, over completely unsubstantiated, over trumped-up charges, thereby confirming that this government will stop at nothing to abuse prosecution and court processes in order to reduce the strength of the minority in this House. However, as a united 137 minority group, restored and re-energized by the good people of Asin North, we wish to serve notice that from here on, we shall march with our colleague Honorable James Gyakye Quason to the High Court to lend our unwavering support to him in his criminal trial. We shall continue to attend every court hearing with him in the full complement of our strength in the House. And this we shall extend to the court hearings of the minority leader himself, Honorable Atuforsen, Honorable Collins Dauda, and any other member of the minority who is currently being prosecuted by the Akufo-Addo government. It therefore stands to reason, ladies and gentlemen, that until the prosecution of our members stops, cooperation with this government and its business will suffer during all such occasions. Our message to the government is very clear. If you touch one, you touch all of us. Government must be clear in dealing with the people's representatives. The verdict of the people of Asin North, and indeed the people of Ghana, is very clear. The ultimate power belongs to the people of Ghana. And we stand with them.
Could we have a reaction from the majority side?
On the floor, the majority leader conceded that this is the verdict of the voters in Asin North, and all and sundry must respect it. But in terms of calls to drop prosecutions, among others, the closest he came to responding to the threats of the minority leadership is to say that this is solely in the bosom of the Attorney General.
Is an enemy to him. We may disagree on a few things, but I believe that across the political divide, he made so many friends. But Mr. Speaker, I believe the NDC want to believe that what victory that our colleague has chalked, and indeed we must congratulate him. The NDC want to believe that this is a peak victory that would hurt the pride of the MPP, as the minority leader has alluded to. Of course, on the other hand, we, the parliamentary group of the MPP, also believe that this is a momentary victory of phantasmal character that certainly may not last. But, Mr. Speaker, that is the choice of the people of Asin North. And everybody must respect that whilst it lasts. The rest of it is in the hands of the Attorney General. Mr. Speaker, the rest of it, as we move from here, is in the hands of the Attorney General. Whilst he remains here, we can only embrace him as a member of Parliament, welcome him here to be part of the fraternity whilst it lasts.
Joining me right now is the Deputy Minority Leader, Emmanuel Amakofi Boa, joins us on the telephone line right now. Thank you, sir, for your time here on Top Story. We may have lost him, but we've also been joined by the Deputy Chairman of the Finance Committee, Patrick Bama. Hello, Patrick Bama. Thanks for your time on Top Story. Oh, goodness. We may have lost both of them. We'll try and get them on the show so we can get some clarity on this decision. Because you remember, this is a case that's going to be heard on a daily basis. And my colleague, Kojo Nyako, was in court today. Kojo, whilst you were in court, Gyakye Quason was expected in the High Court, but it was also in Parliament. So what happened?
Obviously, so it was indicated that he cannot be at two places in the court. At the same time, he was being sworn in Parliament. And so the first to speak was the lawyer for James Gyakye Quason, Chachu Chikata, and he prayed the court that they should grant Mr. James Gyakye Quason some time in order, because he is on a national assignment. And this position was supported by the AG, Deputy Attorney General Alfred Triaboa. And so the judge came in and said that, well, they've been served with notices from the Speaker of Parliament that Gyakye Quason is being sworn in today and thus will be unavailable in the court sitting.
And I wonder what the post that you've been having interactions with both sides of the divide, both the prosecution and then the NDC side, and they came there heavily representing and in solidarity with Gyakye Quason, although he was in Parliament. What has the NDC side been saying today?
Well, so the Director of Legal, Ibrahim Amalba, was the first to speak with us. He indicated that they are not afraid of James Gyakye Quason's prosecution and that they are fully prepared to go throughout the trial.
So we are going to argue the motion out. Don't forget that today will have been the arguments, but this has been adjourned to the SIF. We intend to put in a strong case. We are not afraid of the trial. What we don't want is for the state to use its might to re-rule the process so that our client will go to jail. We want the processes to be fair. We are not saying that we won't come and stand trial, but for the daily hearings, that is what we are against. And no criminal in this country, an accused person rather, has been brought to court every day. Why should he be Quason? And so that's what we are against.
Just a quick
I think the Attorney General does not understand his role. His role as an Attorney General is to prosecute on behalf of the Republic. And the people of this country are the custodians of the sovereignty. So if a Ghanaian feels that it's a complete waste of time to continue prosecuting the MP-elect and voices out that the Attorney General should use his power of knowledge, I don't see anything wrong with that. I say we the people, it's not the Attorney General. We gave the Attorney General that power, and we are saying that exercises in this way, the Attorney General cannot be complaining. That power belongs to us. And so the Domahine was right and spot on. He got support from no less a person than a former Attorney General, Gyakye Quason. And I think that this is how we should all look at it. I disagree with Senior Sam Okujeto, who thinks that his opinion is law. And for that matter, some people should be hauled to the General Legal Council. He himself, as he uses one finger to point at the Domahine, 5 are pointing at him. He has done more harm than good when this matter came to court.
We'll hear from the Deputy Attorney General pretty shortly, but Amakofi Boa, as the Deputy Minority Leader, is with us now on the phone. Hello, Mr. Amakofi Boa. Thanks for your time here on Top Story.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. And good evening to your listeners.
Great to have you. Your colleague and friend on the other side, Deputy Chair of the Finance Committee, Patrick Bama, will also join us. But I need to ask you first, we just had your explanation of the decision. How do you explain that position, though, in effect, to boycott parliamentary business as long as...
I don't think that the word was to boycott parliament.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to be...
I think that what we said was that if you look at the long, concerted effort by this government, it started off when the speaker was being elected. Every attempt was made to make sure that Gyakye Quason was not part of parliament. They went all the way to basically ban him from sitting in the House and ultimately finally removed him. Well, today he triumphantly entered parliament, having been elected by his people and sworn in today. And it was obvious today, if you look at our standing orders 14-1, for anybody who was confused about the position we held. It was only when Gyakye Quason was sworn in today that he became a member of parliament.
But substantively, I want to focus on the announcement that you will be solidarizing with him in court as long as he remains on trial. Not only him, but also with your minority leader and your other colleague, Collins Dada, who is on trial. In effect, that will take you out of parliament for a long time. In Gyakye Quason's case, on a daily basis, which means you're not going to be in the House. My question to you is, how do you explain that to your constituents who will be denied representation because you've chosen solidarity with your colleagues over them?
I don't know whether you can hear me, but
I can hear you.
I think it's very, very clear that we wanted to make sure we stayed our position, that if this government continues the way they have been in attempting to basically coerce and use the power of the Attorney General to basically threaten us into somehow being afraid to do our work and represent our people, we will stand up to them. That's the point we are making.
Yeah,
and the point we are making is that, for example, we will not let the Attorney General simply go to court and just make a case that he wants members of parliament to report on a daily basis. When we have a responsibility to represent our people, we will fight that. And we have put this government on notice that if that is what they are going to do. I mean, can you explain to me why this government was so determined to get Gyakye Quason to court today on the day he elected with his people when he's here to be sworn in? Can you explain to me why government goes back to constantly bring new charges on a case that is going nowhere with Honorable Collins Dada? On the other hand, can you explain why the leader of the minority is being harassed on a daily basis when, quite frankly, we know where this case is all about? It is very clear to us that this is all intended to basically make the minority in parliament weaker, so that we do not do our work in making sure that we can be a check on the government. We are saying that we will not be cajoled. We will stand up to this government, and if it means going with our members on a daily basis to parliament, we'll do. Of course, we will not discuss strategy in terms of how we ensure that the things that we have to do in the interest of people of Ghana are done. Those are strategy. But we want to make sure the government understands that we are not going to be bullied.
So that means, in effect, and I come back to the question, your primary responsibility to represent your people, but you will be in court with your colleagues in solidarity. How do you explain that to your colleagues, to your constituents?
I think we were very clear about that. I think if you look at the last 2 years, what we've done is to basically represent our people, to basically ensure that the government of Ghana runs to cooperate with government as much as possible. But it is becoming very clear to us that this government is becoming very unreasonable, and they are becoming very unreasonable, and they think that the power that the people of Ghana have given them can simply be abused and be used to basically bully people who have been elected to represent them. And we are saying that will not happen. And that if this government thinks that they can bully us into basically being afraid, then they are wrong. And that we are going to stand up to them. That's what we are saying.
You acknowledge, though, that this will, in effect, in the Gyakye Quason case at least, take you out of parliament for the rest of this meeting at least and beyond.
Well, I think that I think that when you say that, it means that you know our strategy. I think
we won't be discussing strategy on your radio program.
Except
it is
that.
very clear to me that we will do everything we can to make sure we stand up to government, to make sure we solidarize with our colleagues who are in court, at the same time to make sure that we protect the interests of the people of Ghana.
Except that as far as strategy, the minority leader on the floor was very clear, unequivocal on this matter, that you withdraw and all of you will go in solidarity anytime he's in court. I mean, that is as plain as it gets, which means that you will not be...
But I'm saying that there's a lot of strategies that we have in Parliament, and we don't intend to disclose that on the radio station. But clearly, the point must be made that we will stand by our members anytime they are unjustly being harassed by this government.
I guess maybe I should ask for clarity. When you stated this on the floor as in the leadership, did you mean all 137 will go in and solidarize, or some will remain?
I will be going into strategy, and I won't disclose that. But the point must be made that we will stand by our members anytime this government unjustly try to basically bully them into court. We will stand by them. In terms of how we do it, I think that we will reserve that.
Why now, though? Because I know you expanded it to include Apawu Forcing and Collins Dowdle. They've been on trial for a while. Why didn't this happen then?
Because this government has been unreasonable, and we have to stand up and say enough is enough. I think enough is enough. If you look at the long abuse of power by this government, if you look at how they have harassed our colleague, Honorable Gyakye Quason, and if you look at the length they've gone, the waste, money spent, our resources, and I think that the Honorable Minority Leader spoke about it. If you look at what went on in our Synod, it calls clearly for investigation on where all this money was brought from. But we are saying that a government that has gone to that length to try to remove one member of parliament that has failed miserably should have learned that enough is enough. But for the Attorney General, for example, to be coming up to say that they will continue to be pursuing prosecution, when in fact the whole purpose was to try to remove Gyakye Quason because what? And clearly the man has done everything by the book. And today the people of our Synod, I hope you listen to the chiefs and people of our Synod that all came to Accra to basically support him. We must respect the people who have the ultimate power, the people of Ghana. And they spoke loud and clear that when they give you power, don't abuse it in Accra. And we are saying that we will no longer allow this government to continue to be very abusive to people who have been elected to represent their people. We will stand up to them.
I'm grateful. That is Amakofi Boahe, is a deputy minority leader in Parliament. And talking about this strategy announced on the floor today for the minority, and together as a collective, will be solidarizing with James Gyakye Quason anytime he's in court. Talking about that will mean, in effect, and Kojo is still with me, he was in court today, this will have to begin on Thursday. In fact, it was actually supposed to begin tomorrow, but Judge Chikata indicated that they had some processes to file at the Supreme Court in pursuit of the civil case. And so that is why they adjourned the case to the 6th, that is on Thursday. And we've heard the NDC's concerns about this daily trial. Today we heard from the Deputy Attorney General on the matter. What was his reaction? So he said that the Attorney General is unfazed with criticisms from all manner of quarters or something. So they have decided to protect the law. In fact, that is what they are there for. Yes, as we indicated in court, truly, Mr. Quason is today on a national assignment. He's being sworn in. Unlike the other time that he said he was on national assignment, that we disputed. We don't dispute it. Being a member of Parliament is a national assignment that he's undertaken. I think the judge also made it known to us that the Speaker of Parliament had written a letter to the court. We went through the letter and we have the considered view that a request for an adjournment is in the right direction. So that's how come we never opposed the request for an adjournment. Do you harbor any fears that this may become a norm in this particular trial? We hope it does not become a norm. You may be an MP, that's all right.
But if you have a matter in court, you must also be in court.
I want to bring in right now the executive director of the Africa Center for Parliamentary Affairs, is Dr. Rashid Draman, who joins us right now via Zoom. Doc, you just had there the deputy minority leader, and their strategy is very clear, as announced on the floor by the minority leader himself. This is an already divided parliament. Now it's even gotten worse. You've been working with them to try and bridge the gap since we had a hung parliament. What's your reaction to what we've just been hearing today?
Yes, Evans, I think that this eighth parliament doesn't cease to amaze me and amaze everybody. Right from day one, I think we saw this coming, and that is why, like you rightly said, we've been calling for, some bridging of the gap, some consensus building. This strategy that has been announced today, well, I think is in their right as a minority group, to come up with all kinds of strategies to drive home their demands. But, Evans, I think they've been elected to do business for this country. Much as they would play the role of holding the government to account, you don't want a situation where this strategy would backfire. If all of them are going to go to court en masse, we are going to have a challenge in terms of having a quorum, for instance, in Parliament. And I don't know, whether, the Right Honorable Speaker can cite all the members of the minority caucus for, absenting themselves, and in that case, being in breach of one of their standing orders. You can boycott Parliament when maybe there is an issue on the floor of the House for which you disagree. Walkouts are normal, are part of parliamentary kind of strategies. But I don't know about going to court en masse and leaving the business of Parliament. So I think you pose the right question to the deputy leader in terms of are they all going to go there? And why now? Because their leader has been going to court for some time now. Why didn't they all collectively go to court if, that was a strategy that could work? So I think there are a lot of challenges regarding this strategy, and they might have to think about it carefully before, Ghanaians begin to get upset with the minority that they've been elected to do business for the country, and they are not in the House to do the business for which they've been elected.
Beyond the concerns, I know you've expressed it. I know, to be honest, you've been in the heart of trying to negotiate a setting solution where they can collaborate and work closely. On the back of what had just happened, on the back of all the trials that is happening, should the majority side take a bit of responsibility in trying to reach out? What should happen now to get both sides to work? Because you have the mid-year budget review coming up that needs approval. In effect, if this goes through, the entire meeting of Parliament is crippled.
Yeah, indeed. And that's why, Evans, I think whilst we are, examining this strategy by the minority, I think the majority also has a very important role in this. At the end of the day, there's always going to be disagreements. Even in normal parliaments that are not hanged, there are always disagreements. And the only way out, I think in almost all instances, is for the two sides to sit down and talk. And what we are seeing is, rather than maybe the two sides coming together, I think we are seeing a parliament that is more and more divided. At the end of the day, I think if we are not careful, we are already in very serious difficulties as a country. This is going to further exacerbate our situation as a country, and Ghanaians are going to be angry with both the majority and the minority. So that's why I believe the leadership of Parliament, I think we'll need to sit and seriously look at some of these issues and try to find ways of making sure that, we don't have a crippled house. Otherwise, I think, we have elections just around the corner. And 2024 is not very far away, and many Ghanaians are going to remember this.
I'm grateful, sir. Dr. Rashid Dramani there. Newsnight starts now.
Good evening and welcome to Newsnight. In the next 60 minutes, controversial anti-gay bill currently before Parliament hit with another legal action. With the latest, an injunction suit asking the Supreme Court to put on hold the consideration of the bill by Parliament. To bring you details shortly. And also, the two women who attacked and gruesomely killed a 90-year-old woman, Gyakye Quason, on suspicion of being a witch, convicted for 12 years. We have details of that manslaughter conviction. Also, Finance Ministry and the Attorney General commences a review of the contractual agreement between the IPPs and ECG to address the energy sector debt. As the IPPs reveal, they are yet to fully accept government terms of payment.
So there's a 3 billion gap in terms of collection. And this collection includes arrears, not staying current, because this collection includes people who owed previously.
We'll get to focus on what is accounting for the significant power loss, resulting in a huge revenue shortfall of up to 3 billion cedis in revenue, plus how the company intends to turn the situation around.
As of now, the company's fortunes are turning around. We are going to pay them exactly what we promised.
Also tonight, coalition of individual bondholders groups set to embark on an indefinite picketing to demand outstanding principles and other agreements contained in an MOU with government. Details, as they say, government has so far not shown any commitment whatsoever to honouring this agreement.
And in business, banks put cedi's depreciation against the dollar for the first half of this year at more than 8%, but shows signs of strong recovery from June last month.
And in sports, former Black Stars coach Gyakye Quason set to take over as new head coach of Asante Kotoko after crunch meeting with Asante Hene day after dissolution of the board and management of the club. We'll bring you details shortly.
And as the battle for who becomes the NPP's presidential candidate intensifies, Alan Kujo Chairman Tingwo's party delegates with a juicy promise of salaries, plus how the country could have avoided going back to the IMF if its PSI ideas were taken seriously. We'll bring you details of that, plus the vetting that is currently ongoing at the NPP Accra office. And he never had any confrontation with his colleagues. 2021 Ketasco NSMQ finalist James Lutro described as calm to a fault, as the school's NSMQ coordinator says they are devastated by his demise.
It's changed everyone's mood, because we were really shocked to the bone to have heard this unimaginable or unfortunate incident.
We have details as tributes continue to pour in. The latest from the former President John Mahama describing the incident as truly heartbreaking. That and more in tonight's edition of Newsnight. You all to join us with your thoughts and comment is via WhatsApp 055-1111-997. I am Emefa Apawu.
Yeah, my name is Mensah. Details after this.
Credits where you get up to 20% of your money back before. Make I tell you about Vodafone's demo promo. See, anytime you recharge a demo, you get up to 20%, whether it be short code or your Vodafone cash wallet, or you don't use credit transfer to your number or someone else. And now you be high tech, so you don't use my Vodafone app or any payment app. However you do, Vodafone go send you up to 20% cash back into your Vodafone cash account. We'll reload here, but then you enter. Top up your airtime with 5 Ghana cedi or more in Vodafone's demo promo. promotion and receive 20% of your money back straight into your Vodafone cash wallet. Recharge and cash out in the Vodafone Demo promotion.
Vodafone, further together.
Wouldn't you prefer an apartment hotel? One that offers the utmost convenience of a boutique hotel while offering the idyllic comfort of your own private home. Oasis Park Residences offers luxury studios, 1, 2 and 3 bedrooms both for short and long-term rental at competitive rates. Our sky swimming pool, gourmet outdoor restaurant and a fully equipped gym rest on a breathtaking rooftop with panoramic views of the city. Oasis Park Residences, located at Shiashi Tetekwashi, 10 minutes from the international airport, is the ideal place for all your accommodation needs. Why don't you give us a call on 020-4343-009 or visit our website at oasisparkresidences.com to make your reservations. Oasis Park Residences, more than a home.
My name is Nanama McBrown. Many people think I get what I want anytime because I am popular. No, that is not true. It is because me and Kasano, I like the best, and when I find it, I stick to it. I have found Bell Pack Tea Roll, and I'm stuck with it. It is soft but not weak, strong but not hard. It is just perfect. Bell Pack Tea Roll is smooth and gentle on the skin. Same as Bell Pack Kitchen Towel. It cleans in one wipe. You can soak, squeeze, and clean again. One Bell Pack Kitchen Towel lasts longer and saves you money. It's time you switch to Bell Pack today and experience the perfect paper tissue. Say pocket tissue, table napkins, tea roll, and a kitchen towel. Paper chow. Bell Pack is simply the best. Bell Pack, just perfect.
To be a Bell Pack distributor, call 055-11-44400. Another quality product from Bell Aqua.
Nothing feels so good like Bell Pack.
And you're live here on News 90 on Joy 99.7 FM. Well, the controversial anti-gay bill has been hit yet again by a legal challenge, with the Ghanaian citizen, Dr. Amanda Odoi, asking the Supreme Court to injunct Parliament from going ahead to consider the bill until the matters before the courts are dealt with. There are currently 2 suits before Ghana's courts against the bill, one at the High Court, focusing on the lack of the attachment to the bill of a financial impact analysis, and another at the Apex Court, focusing on the Speaker's lack of determination to ensure that the bill did not impose a cost on the consolidated fund. I want to bring in our parliamentary correspondent, Gyakye Quason, who joins us right now with a bit more. Gyakye, what are the details of this latest injunction?
So this person called Madam Dr. Amanda Odoi is asking the Supreme Court to injunct Parliament from proceeding to consider this bill. He has a very lengthy, almost 84 pages in this application that she's making to the Supreme Court. She says that she's an academic researcher and a citizen of Ghana. The crux of the argument is that she's advised by counsel, and she believes him to be true, that Article 108 prevents a bill to be introduced by a private member's bill from proceeding through the legislative process if it is determined to impose or have the effect of imposing a charge on the consolidated fund or other public funds of Ghana. And that, in other words, only government can introduce a bill that will require the use of public funds. Again, she deposes that she's advised by counsel, and she believes so to be true, that being the person close to the power to manage and direct the affairs of Parliament, and specifically as the person presiding in Parliament when the bill was first introduced to Parliament, has an express duty to determine in the first instance whether a bill introduced as a private member has the effect prohibited under Article 108. So the first contention and the first issue point she raises is that the Speaker of Parliament did not make a determination as to whether or not the bill has financial implications. And again, that the sponsors of the bill, St. George and other persons, did not attach a financial impact analysis to this, and that the Supreme Court should injunct Parliament from proceeding because she believes that these specific issues are a breach of the 1992 Constitution, and proceeding to consider claim in Parliament will render the specific effects of the Constitution complete negative.
Well, let's talk about the bill itself. Parliament was expected to take the second reading last week. What happened?
So last week, the Speaker himself had directed the previous week that the bill must be taken either on Tuesday or Thursday. We know that on Tuesday, the Parliament barely had numbers to continue sitting because of their Senate by-elections. On Thursday, when we expected that would happen, it didn't, because the chairman and the ranking member were both out of the country. Kwame Anyimadu and Patrick Bernard Ahiafo were all not in Ghana at the time. And so, because they had to present the report of the committee, a debate will ensue before the second reading would have been undertaken. That did not happen. This week as well, we expected that it would have happened. It is still on the other paper. In fact, indeed, I reached out to the chairman of the committee, who says that he is now back in town. He's ready to take the report this week, and if timing allows, but if the timing does not allow, he's willing to do so next week. I've also been trying to see whether or not Parliament has been served. I've not gotten any confirmation about that. But there's optimism in Parliament that the Supreme Court will not injunct Parliament from going ahead to perform its responsibility. The argument being that this being a constitutional matter, if it is passed and the Supreme Court finds out that certain constitutional provisions were breached, all it will do will be to set aside the law, just like it did in that recent case of Ezra Manan versus Attorney General and the Speaker of Parliament in the narcotic bill case. And so Parliament says they're going to go ahead. They are confident that the Supreme Court will not injunct them.
Well, let's bring in the chairman of the Constitutional and Legal Affairs Committee of Parliament, Mr. Kwame Anyimadu. Thank you so much for joining us here on Newsnight. So it appears that is your travel and that of your ranking member that's holding back the second reading of this particular bill. Is that the case? Did we lose Honorable Kwame Anyimadu? We'll check again if we have Kwame Anyimadu joining us, the chairman of the Constitutional and Legal Affairs Committee of Parliament. Do we have him?
What is clear, though, is that this particular bill is not going to... In fact, there was a time we spoke to Anyimadu on the show earlier this year where he was confident that this year they will get past it.
Exactly.
Now, since that conversation, we've seen several, challenges now that the bill is having to deal with. And I mean, the proponents of it, the court cases that are in court right now, with the latest one being the one we've just been
the
talking
injunction
about.
suits that we are seeing. But let's try again and let's bring him back on this matter, amongst others, these legal challenges and then also the setbacks with the reading or the second reading of this particular bill. If you can hear me, Mr. Anyimadu, I was asking earlier about the fact that it's your travels, that you and then your ranking member were told that when we were supposed to take the second reading, you were actually out of the country. Is that what is holding this whole bill back?
No. Good evening to your cherished listeners. On Friday, when the majority speaker was responding to a question, I was in the house. We had traveled to the Belgium for a meeting for a couple of days. In total, it was a CPU meeting. But I came earlier because my flight was different. And I came on Thursday. And the honorable member, my ranking member, Friday. So on Friday morning, I was in the house. But the question that was posed was that the speaker had said that the second reading will be taking place. So why was it not slated to be read? And I heard the majority leader say that, well, we are the leaders of the committee. The chairman and the ranking member both had traveled for a meeting. So obviously that week, because we were in a meeting, equally important assignment outside the country, this week we would do the second reading. And it's been listed, so we are awaiting the directive of leadership.
It appears it's always listed, but it doesn't get to be read, at least. We are seeing that it's listed today, last week listed as well. When exactly are we hoping that the second reading will be done?
It's difficult for me to tell. Today, and if your correspondent was observant, ranking member and myself were in the meeting throughout. It was around 3 to 4 p.m. that we went out of the house for another meeting when Parliament closed from the plenary, that we had to go into another meeting. So we are ready when leaders. But today, because of the swearing in of a new member, I'm sure a lot of people were in the jubilation mode, and we couldn't have. This is a very serious debate, as you know. All Ghanaians are awaiting the response to the second reading of the LGBTQ bill. So I think the probably leadership were looking for members or the House to be well represented, then the debates could.
Okay, but the
start.
3 legal actions so far, with the latest being an injunction suit, does it throw this whole process out of gear in any way?
Well, it's only a hearsay. I have not cited any of the writs. I am in Parliament, and the race would happen in the court, and I cannot speak to that, especially because you prompt me that it's something that I have my own mind on this, but because it's before the courts, I will be reluctant to speak upon that.
And your own mind, would it be that this injunction would definitely be granted by the court?
That's what you wouldn't know because it's in court.
Okay.
Otherwise, I'll be preempting what is before the court.
Okay, but should we be worried that it would affect it in any way?
It's another way of putting the question.
Okay.
It's a very nice way of putting the question. Well, if Parliament has been served, or if there's an injunction, or if there's we will only seek the directive of the Speaker, who himself is also a senior lawyer, and we'll find out from him what the directive is. Once they give us the green light, Ghanaians will hear about the committee. We've completed our work. We laid a report some months ago, and we are ready to take the second reading, and then we'll do the consideration, and then the hula balloons will be over.
Okay, we're grateful. We'll keep on monitoring that, and that's Kwame Enyimedwentry, is the
My
chairman
pleasure.
of the Constitutional and Legal Affairs Committee of Parliament.
Now, Emefa, to a story that sparked national outrage 3 years ago. Today, the Tamale High Court has convicted 2 women, Hajia Serena Mohammed and Latifa Boumaye, for manslaughter of Ikua Dente at Kafaba in the Savannah region. They were both sentenced to 12 years imprisonment for attacking and gruesomely killing Ikua Dante on suspicion of being a witch. And a feeble old woman died the day after that attack. And if you remember, it sparked national outrage, many calling for swift prosecution. Or after 3 years of prosecution, the convicts, through their lawyer Abbas Klimba Mankwa, changed their not guilty plea to guilty, hence the manslaughter conviction. Before we bring you details of the court judgment today, just listen to a short clip of Ikua Dante's case captured in our Hotline documentary, Finding the Witch Hunters.
That was the story of Ikua Dente, a 90-year-old woman who was tortured till she died. She was threatened and then whipped to extract a confession from her. Then after the forced confession, she was tortured until she died subsequently.
It should not happen again. I hope that the quick response of the police will lead to the rapid administration of justice.
For us as prosecutors, we will leave no stone unturned to prosecute this case to the end.
Well, a tragic case indeed. It's come to a conclusion. The court has pronounced its judgment. I want to bring in some of the campaigners. One of the campaigners indeed followed this all through. Lamnatu Adam, Executive Director of Sontaba, a Tamale-based NGO, a part of a coalition that campaigned for swift justice to be delivered. It has been delivered today, and I want to bring her in right now. Is it your view that this should put this matter to rest? Happy with what the court decided today?
Yes, hello and good evening to our listeners. Yes, I think finally justice has been served, although it was something that we much awaited for. we are excited that at long last, witchcraft accusation have seen the light of the day, and the perpetrators have also been sentenced.
But substantively, how much of a difference will this make? Because I know you've experienced this in the part of the country, something that you campaign against pretty much all your adult life since you became active in this area. You think this conviction will make a difference to serve as a deterrent at all?
I think that we cannot lose sight that this can bring some change. One of the challenge we have always posed was the fact that we're not getting the perpetrators convicted. And so if people know that when they do this, this is going to happen to them, I'm sure that they will rethink. So we cannot say that we're 100% sure that this might not happen again, but at least this is a motivation for us. At least we are motivated to keep fighting, that although justice may be denied, may be delayed, but then it will not be denied. And I think it was proven today. It's taken us 3 years, but we've seen the light.
Finally, though, for the culture that encouraged this and that still does this, beyond this case, what should happen fundamentally to ensure that this is not repeated?
I think that we need a whole conversation about what progressive norms we must push and which traditional beliefs are deteriorating our democracy. And so for me, I think that traditional authority, our communities, need to take up serious action towards the protection of women and other underserved populations. And so we still need to continue the discussion on how to safeguard the protection of women and children, and also people who are aged and people with disabilities in our communities. Community leadership need to take the protection of these groups as a priority, especially our traditional authorities. And for me, I think that is quite a worrying trend, especially if you look at the recent killing of two at Zakpalsi, where the woman was lynched at the forefront of the palace. And it's quite worrying. And I can say that, yes, communities need to do better than we are doing. Traditional authority, and for that matter, our chiefs, need to take the protection of women, children, and other vulnerable groups as a key priority, within their jurisdictions. And all other community members, be it the youth or men and women, it should be a collective responsibility. So beyond this conviction, I think that we still need to do, further engagement with communities about how to further deal with cases of witchcraft accusation. It's not stopping, maybe not now, but there's an opportunity, especially as there's that discussion around criminalizing witchcraft accusation, which is ongoing now, led by the Anti-Witchcraft Coalition.
Thank you very much, Lamnatu Adam. He's Executive Director of Vexon Taba, Tamale-based NGO.
Now, let's stay a while longer in the courts, this time in Accra. And founder of defunct Capital Bank, William Atuisian, has once again been giving another lifeline to redeem his payment to the state by a commercial division of an Accra High Court. Mr. Essien was expected to pay to the state an amount of 20 million by the end of April. But as of July 4, he had only been able to pay 8 million out of the 20 million. In court on Tuesday, his lawyers pleaded with a court for Mr. Essien's passport to be released to him to enable him travel outside the country to raise the money. But his request was turned down by the court. Well, let's bring in Richard Kojo Nyako. He was in court for us today, and we'll talk about what transpired first. Richard?
So, Atuisian was in court as well as the lawyer, and then the state attorneys were also there. And then the lawyers for Atuisian first started pleading for more time in order for him to raise the amount of money they owe to the state. And then subsequently they went on with pleading for his passport to be released to him, because according to him, he needs to travel outside to his business associates in order to be able to get the money to liquidate the asset.
Well, and it looks like that was turned down.
Yes, obviously it was turned down.
Okay, but what has the state been saying specifically on the inability of Mr. Essien to pay the first tranche of the money?
Well, so the state basically says that they are running out of time, and so by the end of this month, should Mr. Essien refuse or fail to pay the money, they have no other option than to pray on the court to convict him.
In fact, left to us at the ministry, we wanted to move our application. But as you know, the judge in his wisdom, before we could even come out to say we're going to move the motion, said he was minded to grant him an extension, but I was not sure as to when the gentleman needed so that we could liquidate the entire amount. Now he's been given another lease of life that's up to the end of July. Let's hope. Per the orders that the judge made today, we are very certain that on the next agenda date, if he doesn't pay up, the judge will have to drop the hammer. So we come to the end of this matter.
At the last agenda date, the issue of concern was whether the entire 60 million was up for payment. But at least from what we get from today, the judge is looking at he finishing the first tranche of 20 million. Does that change your position on the matter?
You see, the judge in the last order that he made today said if the 12 million is paid, then he may be minded to consider the outstanding sum. So meaning, even if the 12 million is paid, the judge may still say that looking at the law, he may want to go ahead to convict, sort of to sentence him into prison. But we are bound by whatever the judge says, and when we come back on the 27th, it's our expectation that we go by the orders of the court as made today, so we can know the way forward. The accused, I'm not calling him accused, he's a convict. If we're a convict, you are not supposed to be traveling. You are supposed to be being in custody. We are giving suspension dispensation, and then you are at home coming to court. So if you give you the passport and you go and you don't come back, Ghanaians can blame me. They can even blame the court. People having standing trial have not been convicted. They don't have access to their passports. How much less or more about people who have been convicted and then they are waiting their sentence? So I think we will oppose it, even if they start making such an effort. Yes, as the AG made that point that we are in the process of introducing a bill in Parliament to amend portions of our criminal procedure. And one of them has to do with the adoption of criminal proceedings. Now, when it comes to Section 35, it's also an act of Parliament, Section 35 of the Courts Act. If you look at it now, we don't see any problem with it, but it's about compliance. Now, if you read the section so well, even the judge does not have any discretion in the matter, but maybe based on the inherent jurisdiction of the court may want to extend it. But if you look at the law now, I think it sits well with us. Everybody will have to comply with the law, Section 35. It's a tool that is still available to accused persons, but I think that if an accused person decides to take advantage of that section, you must be also ready to go by the terms that you undertake to undergo. But the whole thing is, if you agree that you are going to pay an amount by X date and refuse to pay, and we have to be chasing you up and down, I don't think something that we may want to encourage. So having this experience, this particular case, in subsequent proceedings, we may also want to change our strategy. But on the 27th, if nothing is paid, or if the amount as ordered by the court is not paid, then that may be the last point that we may want to part company.
That's the Deputy Attorney General, Alfred Chiaheboa.
Well, you're still live here on News 90s on Joy 99.7 FM. Well, tonight, the coalition of individual bond holders are hitting the streets with an indefinite protest starting July 6th. And we can now speak to Senor Hosi, who is convener of the Individual Bondholders Forum, one of the groups that have joined forces for this protest. Senor,
John.
Hello, Mr. Hosi.
Hello, Evans. Good evening.
Great to have you. Why this protest?
Evans, there's only so much a human being can take. We have been very, very reasonable, very, very cooperative with government in this entire exercise. We have spent our resources, committed our mental capacity, our coordinating capacity to galvanize support for a resolution. We partook in this technical committee engagement. We've walked through this process. since March. Promise upon promise, promise upon promise. We came to a head, firmed up a few things, signed an MOU on the way forward. Implementation that was supposed to take place from June. The core part of it is still not done, and no communication to it. We don't want to believe that our government is a government that just responds to agitations this way. But I think government has to be fair to the people. People are really suffering. People are really struggling. People have lost their jobs. They have to depend on their savings to be able to give meaning to their own lives, to give meaning to the lives of their parents, their children, their school fees, their health, what have you. And then you make promises, and yet still no commitment. Even communication is a problem. It is very disheartening and very disappointing.
Let me clarify. So is this a fight over the coupons or the principals or both?
It's about a way forward. As we speak, principals are outstanding from 20th February. As we speak, the MOU that was signed by the Honorable Minister of State for Finance on behalf of the Ministry of Finance and on behalf of the government, which was supposed to have been implemented last month, has not been implemented whatsoever. The agreement was for us to convert all principals that mature from the 1st of June going forward into treasury bills. And we broke this down into 91-day, 182-day, and 364-day treasury bills to give government a lot more flexibility and latitude to deal with its liquidity crisis. We've agreed. You are supposed to develop an exchange memoranda for us to now officially put before individuals for people to exercise the option to partake or not. Up to now, nothing. No word.
But I recall the Minister of State actually appended his signature to that document.
Look, yes, and look, I have to be honest, I have to give credit to Honorable Amin. It's been very, very reasonable, cooperative. We've had good engagement, so I just don't know what's happening. Why suddenly everything just freezes and gets on ice? It's okay to freeze on ice, but not when people's lives are at stake. You don't do that. You don't do that. This is a mandate of the people. You sought to protect the mandate of the people, whose taxes actually keep you in the largesse you live in. I think the government must rethink its posture and attitude to individual bondholders. It is not right. It is not fair. It is actually not reasonable.
The picketing starting on the 6th of July. For how long?
We are pursuing the resolution of these grievances. We've sat at the table to negotiate and agree a way forward. Just implement it. Implement what you signed and be honorable about it. So till that is done, the picketing is not stopping. We have over 300,000 members whose life and interest is at stake. We make concessions over collective investment schemes. We make concessions about due dates and commitments to pay. The president made promises, went to parliament, made representations. The word of the president cannot be prose in reality, but poetry in speak. That is honorable. And I don't think that's what the president wants to do. So whoever is listening, please, Mr. President, please call your team to order. Let's get the right thing done. People every day wake up in pain. People struggle to take care of their needs. Their children are being moved from school to school, are being brought home because they can't really fend for them. They can't pay their fees. People are struggling with their health, not of just themselves, their parents and their grannies. In Ghana, it's today that people really talk properly about pension. But what really is your pension? Your pension is largely the prosperity of your children. You invest in your children, they come back and take care of you. If your children can't get the money to take care of you, you all starve. We can't be doing this and be insensitive.
So specifically,
I think we've never struggled before. I mean, you know, it's very, very painful that people keep sitting there with so much confusion, uncertainty. How are we proceeding? If, as you are aware, the struggles that we've gone through to keep people calm, for us to keep working with government, to progress in the engagement that we've had. And we've had progressive engagement that gives government a win and individuals and the citizens and the country also a win. Be honorable, implement it.
So on Thursday,
implement it.
On Thursday, where does this begin and what form will this picketing take?
We are picketing And this picketing is serious picketing. We have too many people. We are going to be engaging the police tomorrow to work out the modalities. We have a meeting at 10 a.m. tomorrow with the commander of the region to resolve the modalities. And then we can confirm if we'll be able to have access and permission to release that on the 6th. Okay. If there's a variation to that, we'll tell everybody. But we need to bring the lives at stake to the fore for the ministry to realize what they are tampering with, what they are toying with. These are real lives. People are not statistics. The numbers you see at the CSD are numbers, but what they represent are lives. They are not just numbers. When I come to you and I tell you that we represent A, B, and C, I'm not talking about statistics. I'm talking about lives. People wake up every morning and struggle to survive. We cannot continue this way. It is dishonorable, and that is not the call to duty for a public servant. So please, let's do that with fair. That is just, that is right. And I urge the ministry to avert this unnecessary agitation.
Okay. Senor Hosi, thank you very much. And Senor Hosi is a convener of the Individual Bondholders Forum.
Well, and also speaking of picketing, members of the National Food Suppliers Association, they've been picketing the National Food Buffer Stock Company, demanding payment of over 270 million Ghana cedis owed them from food supply to senior high schools across the country from 2021 to 2023. The members who travelled from all regions say they will not leave the premises until their monies are paid to them. Kweku Amedume is a spokesperson for the association.
The government is owing us money for the supplies we've done since 2021 till date, running into millions of cities, 270 million. We've done everything possible to get our monies paid to us, which has not yielded any positive result. We had intentions of picketing here on the 13th of last month. There were some interventions which we saw that it was necessary for us to call off the picketing with the hope that they were going to get us paid before today. Unfortunately, after those interventions were made, that stopped us from picketing here. We have not heard anything from the government. Nobody has called us to tell us where and how our money is going to get paid. It's a serious issue that we are putting before government because most of our members rely on loan to do the supply. Most of these people depend on some little credibility to do business. That credibility is dwindling. They can no longer continue with the supply because some have even used their properties as collateral to secure the money. That collateral is in the verge of being taken over by the creditors. And we've done everything possible. We are not picketing only for today. We are going to be here till tomorrow next if our money is not paid. We want to be here. We want to live here. We have membership coming from all the region. We have membership from Brong-Ahafo. We have membership from Kumasi. We have membership in every region. We undertake supply of foodstuff. We want our money to be paid. We've exhausted all the reasonable means of collecting our money. We have written to the office of the president. We have written to the Minister of Education. We have written and held meeting in this house. Nothing has come out of those meetings. No effort is seen to be made for money to be paid to our membership.
And it's now time for business, and George Gyakye is here with the very latest after business. We'll take you to the. This is your headquarters when it comes to politics, your election headquarters very soon, where we'll talk to you about what has been happening within the ranks of the MPP with the vetting, but also the campaigning by many of the aspirants. And we'll tell you about what is happening with the IPPs and whether or not there was an agreement. Very fascinating revelations yesterday on PM Express. George, what do you have in the headlines for business?
Well, even scamming banks put cedi's depreciation against the dollar for first half of this year at more than 8%, but shows signs of strong recovery from June last month. And Ghana's mid-year review and 2024 budget statement to be influenced by the country's program with the IMF. The business news on Newsnight is brought to you by MTN Business. Welcome to the new world of business. Allianz Life and Ghana Pay.
Business a bit news to say. So the projections from the first quarter show a higher total gross profit for the fiscal year. A bit me kasa saying Nana, goods not land you. He did the port ready. A bit me to say.
Here are your items. Thank you for coming.
Yes, 2 for 10 cedi, me no 10 cedi, 2 for 10 cedi.
However you do business, wherever you do business, MTN Business has a solution for you. Join us on 14th July at the Kumasi Mall and 28th July at the Rollins Park in Accra Central. To learn how to do more and stay ahead of the pack, visit mtn.com.gh/business or call or WhatsApp 0244 308111 for enquiries. It's time to scale up this July with MTN.
MTN.
Son, we are so proud of you for setting up this hospital. I really love those hospital beds and waiting chairs. By the way, did you import them?
No, Dad, I didn't. I actually got them from Kindle Books and Stationery right here in Ghana.
Wow. We also bought our office supplies, safes, executive desks and chairs from Kingdom, and they gave us expert advice on how to set up our office.
Guys, that makes 3 of us. I also got our sofa and bedroom sets, plus our dining hall furniture for our new home from Kingdom.
Wow, Mom, that makes 4 of us. I usually get my stationery items from Kingdom, and my teacher also mentioned that our classroom furniture was provided by Kingdom.
So there you have it. Whenever you're thinking about setting up an office or acquiring furniture for your home, etc., Kingdom Books and Stationery should be your first point of call. With over 40 years experience in the industry, we stock and supply a wide variety of globally sourced office and home furniture, stationery and equipment. Visit our head office, Osu Akwaje, or our office near the Osu Stadium. We're also in Tema Community 1, opposite Olam SHS, Kumasi KNUST campus, UCC Cape Coast, and now at the Marina Mall, Airport City. Or call us 0302 764101, 764209, or 762792. Visit our website www.kingdomgh.com.
Do you know Flamingo Paint has superior properties than any other paint brand on the market? Listen, when you take 1 bucket of Flamingo Paint, it's equal to several buckets of any paint brand on the market. So, Flamingo has superior hiding properties, superior coverage, it means it covers, and superior durability. Flamingo Paint, superior hiding. Flamingo Paint, superior coverage. Flamingo Paint, superior durability. Flamingo Paint, simply superior. No matter your water needs, Syntex has it all. Syntex tank was first to introduce double layer tank, and now you can have as many layers as you want. Syntex tank was first to introduce white inner layer tanks in Ghana, and now introduces the customer specs order, which will let you order any color and size you want. Syntex tanks gives you the biggest warranty of 7 years, which no other tank gives you. So whatever your water consumption, size of project, or demand, choose Syntex tank. Syntex tank, stress-free. Syntex tank, reliable. Syntex tank, maximum guarantee. Call 0244 335 168, Kumasi 0505 555 666, or visit syntexgh.com. Syntex tank, a strong, a tough.
Media Sambisanda Moa. Etiam Ratiano, Mumu Panet, Mufinam, Podompe, Mumana Yakono. Eh, Quabna. No, Mumu wants me to be just Mali, Marina there. And the crow, corporate Mirinam Podompe, so you so excellent Eba. I had a binding to Braye, who see it in a mobile, some man I want it. Sir, I need Nakuyosu, you so excellent Chaco. Then dear, a mouse, when you could fit of that. No, what you ask you, my mother feel you. Kojo, sir. Yeah. Pepsodent Eba and a Pepsodent Chaco. A idea. You're gonna natural.
FDIJ Jadion Katuyatu.
You're welcome back to Business on Newsnight. Now, the Ghana cedi ended the first half of this year depreciating by more than 8% against the US dollar. Now, this is based on data picked up from some of the major commercial banks that play in the forex market. There is more in this report.
Data from these commercial banks, however, showed that for the month of June, the Ghana cedi picked up strongly. According to these banks, the local currency appreciated by more than 1% against the US dollar. The pickup can be linked to improved dollar support coming from the Bank of Ghana, as well as signs of recovery due to Ghana securing a program with the IMF. There are also projections that the country's foreign exchange reserves are expected to pick up strongly in the coming month. This is due to the expected $300 million support from the World Bank possibly in September this year, as well as another $600 million from the IMF possibly in November this year. This development has given some comfort to the market, especially for those that had been rushing to demand dollars because of their past concerns about the outlook of the economy. A little over 8% depreciation for the cedi against the dollar is, however, far better than the almost 17% recorded against the dollar in the first half of last year. The sharp depreciation of the local currency for the last year was linked to uncertainty about the outlook of the economy, as well as whether Ghana will secure an IMF program and the associated shocks of the domestic debt exchange program on the economy.
Well, that is a business desk report. Well, 11 Ghana cedis, 75 pesos is the average rate that some of the major commercial banks are using when it comes to transactions denominated in dollars. However, the Forex Bureau say you will need 12 Ghana cedis to get a dollar for today. Economist Professor Peter Korte has indicated that government should move fast to deal with the concerns of the independent power producers. These private firms were forced to put their plans on hold to shut down after an interim deal was reached with them last week. However, there are concerns that the issue could come up again. Professor Peter Korte says that these developments are not good for business confidence.
IPPs, of course, in the program, they said we're not going to accumulate payables in the IMF program. I think there should be conscious effort to stick to that proposal, and the IPPs should be paid as and when the payments arise, so that we can continue to have the power on. I think that statement that they are going to cut power is not good for business, it's not good for economy, it's not. I mean, those kinds of statements should not be made. Government should engage them and make sure they pay up accruals or whatever they owe them, so that we don't make such statement. It affects business confidence, it affects investor confidence.
Professor Peter Korte is an economist. Now, programs and policy measures that will be captured in the mid-year budget review and the 2024 budget will be influenced heavily by the IMF. This is what Joy Business has picked up from persons with knowledge of government's commitment under the IMF program. There is more in this report.
The country in the past had the free will to introduce programs to try and stabilize the economy when it comes to the preparation of its budget. But after signing up to the IMF program, it appears things might change, at least for the next 3 years. Joy Business is learning that most of the policy measures that government will be rolling out should be in line with the program that Ghana signed with the IMF earlier this year. This should mean that when it comes to the deficit, fresh set of programs should be introduced by government to try and bring it under control. There are also other programs that the country has agreed to undertake over the next 3 years. Well, those set of fiscal reforms should be captured in the 2024 budget, which will be presented in November, so that it will be able to secure its approval in Parliament by November this year. The 2024 budget should, for instance, have the blessings of the IMF before it is presented to Parliament. The Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta is expected to present the mid-year review of the estimates by the end of this month. Joy Business understands that the presentation will also be approved by the IMF. However, we are not sure for now whether there will be a drastic review of the 2023 budget when the Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta goes to Parliament to review the estimates captured in the budget. We are also not sure for now whether the Finance Minister could look forward to a supplementary budget.
And that is the Business Desk report. Now, a senior manager at accounting firm Deloitte Gilbert Jirenchiado is backing calls for government to use the mid-year review to deal with concerns of too many taxes complained or put forward by businesses. Now, some business associations are pushing for the Finance Minister, Ken Ofori-Atta, to use the mid-year review of estimates to scrap some of the taxes introduced by government. Mr. Ado maintains that there is a need for government to accommodate these concerns coming from businesses.
It's very important that you give a fair consideration to the challenges that they are facing, because cost of doing business, is clearly up the roof. And when these things are happening, it also tends to affect other tax handles. So government will need to strike a balance in ensuring that, look, we set out these policies in order to meet the IMF conditionality, being able to make headway. What can we also do to ensure that we meet the industry players halfway in order for them to have some respite in doing business in Ghana? There's been that call for government to scrap off the COVID-19 levy, and I think that is something that is in order.
Senior manager at accounting firm Deloitte, Gilbert Yirinchiado. Now, automobile marketing firm Rana Motors has launched an all-new Kia Carens for the Ghanaian market. The Kia Carens, which is a 7-seater vehicle, is purposely designed to afford families the opportunity to experience comfortability and relaxation when embarking on an adventure. Speaking to Joy Business at the launch of the vehicle, Chief Operating Officer at Kia, Kassim Durant, stated that the new vehicle is cost-efficient.
It is a vehicle that it is full of style, full of convenience, full of good storage and storage, convenient storage inside. It has all the technological stuff that a consumer needs, from having a screen, connecting his phone, Apple CarPlay, Android Auto. It's having all, and price-wise it is well positioned, cost-wise it is well positioned, because we want to also be able to give the opportunity to families who wants an entry level family car where they can have a very safe, very convenient car, but it's at the same time very well priced.
And that is the Chief Operating Officer at automobile marketing firm, that is Rana Motors, Kassim Odemat. Let's turn our attention to the stock market. And if you are holder of Benz or your palm plantation shares, today you lost 11 pesos. And each share that you hold is worth 14 Ghana cedis. To City General, it's now worth 61 pesos after losing 2 pesos. That's all for business on Newsnight. Back to you, Evans.
Ms. Bao is here with sports now. Hello, Ms. Bao.
Evans, and big welcome to. Anyway, let's get to Mensah now, because there's a report coming through there relative to the former Black Stars coach Gyakye Quason. What we understand is that Mensah, following the dissolution of the board and management of Kumasi Asante Kotoko, have now moved to appoint a new head coach for the club, with the former Black Stars coach Gyakye Quason in pole position to become the new manager for the club. My colleague Stephen Zando of Insure FM has been following the story and has the details.
Former Black Stars head coach James Gyakye Quason may be picking a new role at Asante Kotoko heading into the 2023-24 football season. His reported links to the Porcupine Warriors heightened when the former Kotoko player was spotted at Mensah Palace earlier on Tuesday. According to our checks, James Gyakye Quason was invited to the Palace over the possibility of picking a new role at the club. The report further indicated that Apia was given a proposed long-term project which will see him work for the Reds for a number of years and is convinced about the project. However, it is unclear whether Coach Gyakye Quason has been approved to coach Kotoko or be given a managerial role instead. Though Gyakye Quason's name has been mentioned, Kotoko fans should not be surprised to hear that former coach Dr. Prosper Ogumnate has been approved to stage a stunning comeback to the Porcupine Warriors, with Mensah Palace exploring its options to get a new management and head coach.
Of Stephen Zando of our sister station Insure FM over there. And just a little update before I go even. So the Ghana Football Association have now unveiled a 3-year strategic plan to develop the women's game in the country. It was launched earlier today, and the hope is that various facets of the women's game will be developed to bring it to the level of possibly even the men's game and the standard that is across the world over there. That's it for sports events, brought to you by Pepsodent Herbal and Chaco, and Pepsodent, every smile matters.
And you are on your election headquarters. The campaigning is now intense and it's coming thick and fast after the vetting. But today, Alan Chamanting, former trade minister, has been campaigning, and he has been distancing himself from the economic management team of which he was a member until he resigned, saying Ghana's current IMF deal could have been avoided if his ideas on the president's special initiative introduced under the former President Kufuor administration had been accepted.
I was one of the
senior ministers in Kufuor's administration. I had excellent ideas, and if Ghanaians had listened to me, we wouldn't have gone to the IMF.
Well, my colleague Carlos Coloni was with him on this tour and joins us in the studio with more on this. So he was on the tour. I wonder how people reacted to him, Carlos.
Yes, so the reaction was really not felt on the ground because he was actually making a statement about his capabilities and the experiences he's had in a party and in government. So it was more like a passing comment. So the reaction was really not felt on the ground.
What about delegates? He had a message for them about salaries.
Sure. He was like, there's a need to boost the morale of party delegates. And so he's asking that if they give him the nod and he becomes the flag bearer of the party, he's going to actually have a salary structure for them and also pay their end of service benefit or pension. He will institute something like that to make sure that they benefit from the service that they deliver to the party.
He has a plan and then he knows exactly what he's supposed to do. So we'll give him the benefit of the doubt and then see if indeed it will be possible.
Do you doubt it can be possible?
No, obviously not. I'm not doubting him. He's capable of doing it. He has been a minister for 6 years. He's capable of doing so.
It's not a bad idea, but for him to do it.
So which question I have?
So that is a reaction there from the delegates speaking at that on the ground there when Alan Chamanting went to campaign and promised them that their salaries will be paid and also their ex gratia, etc.
And he insists that it's his 10 actually because of what he did for President Akufo-Addo back then. So it's definitely his 10 if they have to vote another presidential candidate. But the vetting is still underway and other hopefuls are taking their 10. Samuel Imbura has been following that for us. He's also in the studio with us. Samuel, what did we miss today?
So today we had the former energy minister, Mr. Gyakye Quason, coming before the committee. He spent well over 1 hour 40 minutes with the committee. After he was done, he couldn't speak to the media. He told me when I made that attempt to engage him that it is part of the standard practice of the party that aspirants should not speak to delegates or the media after the vetting. So he drove away. The second person was the former general secretary of the party, Kobine Japon. He is optimistic of sailing through to the next stage, but he had an advice for the national executives. He wants an even-handed election process in the selection of a leader.
The situation tomorrow, we're expecting more to be vetted?
We are expecting 3 more aspirants. We are expecting the former Agric Minister, Dr. Friya Koto. We also expect the former Railway Development Minister and MP for Escado Ketan constituency, Joe Gatti, and Dr. Konedu Apreko to face the committee tomorrow.
Thank you very much. Samuel Imbura there following that situation for us.
To the sad story of James Lutrot, and he's been described as calm to a fault and never had a confrontation with his colleagues. And that is how this 2021 Kitasco NSMQ finalist has been described. And we know that the social media community in Kita has been responding to his loss. It's been described as devastating by the school. The man who prepared him and 2 others for the 2021 NSMQ competition has been acknowledging that when we spoke to him. Listen to Isaac Bafo-Boateng.
We received the sad news with a heavy heart. And everybody was disappointed because we least expected it. And unfortunately, it really was so sad that it changed everyone's mood because we were really, really shocked to the bone to have heard all this unimaginable or unfortunate incident. And we, for a moment, found it difficult to believe. So I had to call the father to confirm And it's unfortunate that the father too said it was true. I've been there trying to battle with what could have actually caused the death, because I never expected that. This young guy could hardly hit a fly when he was here, and he never picked quarrel with anybody. He was not interested in any other activity apart from his books and fun. That's all. He was easygoing. He was able to accomplish assigned tasks in good time. No, as I had said earlier, he never behaved unruly towards any teacher or even had confrontation with his colleagues that I even saw.
That's rather a sad situation there. That's the coordinator, NSMQ coordinator of Ketasco, Isaac Bafo Boating, talking about James Lutrot.
And the National Science Mass Quiz has been remembering James Lutrot. He was a brilliant chap. We've played some of the clips of him answering some of the toughest questions, questions that Emefa would not dare attempt. But this young man did bravely. And actually, from what we've heard, he was actually on his way to one of the Ivy League schools in the US when this tragedy was announced in a way.
May his soul continue to find eternal rest. And that's how we wrap up today's edition of Newsnight. So there's more when you log on to myjoyonline.com. I am Emefa Apawu.
And my name is Mensah.